First, live, local. This is Fox 12 Now.
All right, hello. Welcome back to Fox 12 Now. As always, I'm Greg Nibbler. Appreciate you being here, and you can find us on our apps, our website, our social media channels. I say it all the time, but that way you always remember where to come and watch this show. And we do get to talk to a lot of different people. We cover a lot of different things here. And today, though, we are playing my conversation with the one and only Bill Oakley. Bill lives here in Portland. In case you don't know, he was the former executive producer of The Simpsons. He was a head writer of The Simpsons. He wrote Who Shot Mr. Burns, if you know that one. That's him. That's Bill Oakley. Also, in addition to The Simpsons, he has become quite the food critic. He has, if you follow him on Instagram, that Bill Oakley, or on YouTube, he reviews all kinds of food. Definitely started off maybe with some fast food and snacks. Now he covers everything. And he's achieved some pretty big international stardom with his reviews, and if you watch them, you know why. So we talk about all of that and a whole lot more, plus The Simpsons and Halloween, the crossover between those two. So a lot to get to in this interview. So if you have comments, you have questions, feel free to drop those into the chat. This is not live. This was recorded at a top secret location, offsite yesterday. So that we're playing it back right now. And please though, enjoy this. Let us know if you have questions. Let's just go for it. Here we go. It's myself and Bill Oakley. So, Bill, I think one of the first things that I'd like to talk about is just about The Simpsons and Halloween and how really symbiotic those two things are. I mean, you know, other shows, other series, everybody does a Christmas special, everybody does a Thanksgiving special, and The Simpsons did that too, but there's something about The Simpsons and Halloween that really worked so well together and still does. Why is that, do you think?
I think because The Simpsons used the Halloween episode to break their own format. Initially, because a lot of episodes, back in that day, you got the Cosby Show, or Different World having a Halloween show, which would be people in costumes with the story that might be spooky or whatever. But The Simpsons used the opportunity of a Halloween show to do things that weren't in their normal format, that were surreal. Like when they did The Raven, that was very much unlike anything you'd see on TV. It was just a reading of The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. And they would do a kind of genre-bending things as well, like parodies of Twilight Zone episodes and things like that. And it became incredibly popular. And over the years, it just kind of grew on its own momentum because they did it every year.
And that's so true. I mean, that really is just something that's so much fun, seeing the format be broken, whether that's Skinner, being a detective, or the aliens, or whatever else is happening on there. Was there ever a time when you were writing on The Simpsons where you came up with an idea that just didn't work, or wasn't taken, or wasn't used?
No, in fact, even when I was on the staff, we were kind of like, this is hard. It's hard to make up original ideas. And I'm very impressed that they've been able to do it for the 20 years since I left the staff, because there were, there's a limited number of famous Twilight Zone episodes to parody. There's a limited number of famous horror movies. So they've moved on to other types of to original things and all sorts of stuff. Also, I think part of the nature of the Simpsons Halloween show is that it's animated, so you can do anything. If you were doing a live action Halloween special, you still wouldn't be able to do anything because it would be expensive. On The Simpsons, they can do anything, and it doesn't cost any more money than having to sit on the couch.
Well, and one more thing too, just about the Simpsons side of things, is that you are also still involved in a lot of events with the Simpsons. And I know you have some that are coming up this weekend. I believe one of them's sold out, so sorry for everybody out there. But what is it like for you going out to these events and seeing all these people who are still so involved in The Simpsons, know so much about your work, and really celebrating it in such an amazing fashion?
It's always exciting to meet the fans. And what the events you described are, first of all, on Saturday night, this coming Saturday, I'm doing a live event with Talking Simpsons, which is probably the world's premier Simpsons podcast, with Bob and Henry, Kelly's Olympian, and we're going to talk about 3 Halloween segments. A few nights before that, we're going to be doing I'm going to be a judge along with those 2 guys at a Simpsons Halloween costume contest and trivia night at Tomorrow's Verse Tap Room. And that should also be fun. It's always fun to meet the fans because they are, well, they're really knowledgeable. In many cases, yeah. I did the Simpsons trivia at that place, and I came in like 12th, I think. And these are episodes that I wrote and produced in many cases. So it's exciting to see the fans who have such a passion for this. And also when they dress up, it's so entertaining. Even at the non-costume contest events, I saw some incredible costumes here in Portland, and it's always fun. And I do them. I did one in Chicago as well, and I'm doing one in Austin actually in a couple weeks. So I do these things, and also the fans generally are pretty enthused about certain things, many of which I happen to have been there for, not to blow my own horn. So I'm pleased, when they want me to talk about steamed hams or whatever.
What's one of the things that people bring up the most to you about The Simpsons?
Well, unquestionably, it's steamed hams, because that was the main. It's taken on such. I didn't hear anything about. Okay, first of all, you see steamed hams. We'll talk about that in a second. Between the year 1996 or 97, when that thing aired, and 2014, I never heard a whisper about it, a peep. Then it started becoming this internet thing, starting in Australia, and over the 2014 to 2018, it suddenly took over. It became meme of the year, according to those who know, in 2018, because people were remixing it. So there's literally hundreds, if not thousands, of remixes of it on YouTube. And it's taken on this weird life of its own, such that I'm constantly trying to capitalize on it by doing things like have the Steamed Ham Society or whatever, or even getting it as a registered trademark, which I hope to do sometime soon.
Yeah, I mean, it's such an interesting thing. So many years, like you mentioned, just nobody really talking about this, and then all of a sudden the internet just takes over and breathes this whole new life into something and creates a whole new
absolutely.
Out of it. Yeah,
it did, and that is one of the things, because people know that I wrote that segment, and but also there's lots. The whole world of Simpsons memes is one thing, but there's a lot of people who have a lot of certain quotes stuck in their heads that they use on certain occasions, myself included, which I often get to see, or episodes. People have certain episodes that really were meaningful to them when they were kids, or whatnot. And it's always nice to hear about that too.
Yeah, I mean, I even still have like a Simpsons earworm that I get all the time. For some reason, the Mr. Plow song will just come back into my head. I feel like it's always just underneath the surface where I can hear Mr. Plow, that's my name. And I don't know why that is, but it's always, I'll find myself singing that thing.
I think The Simpsons is lucky in that it's probably one of the last shows that everybody heard of and watched, because it reran over and over and over and over everywhere for a long time. I mean, when I was a kid, there were lots of shows that ran all over and over, like the Brady Bunch and I Love Lucy, and people knew those. But that doesn't happen so much anymore. And The Simpsons is one of the last shows. Like even Seinfeld, people loved Seinfeld at the time, but you don't find that level of intensity because it's not bringing on new generations of kids like The Simpsons seems to be doing.
Yeah, I mean, with all those years, that's that's almost like all these different generations each had their own era of The Simpsons to grow up with, which is just kind of wild.
And especially now that it's on Disney Plus, it's happening again. For years, The Simpsons was not available on streaming services, and thus there was a lost generation of fans who are probably between like the ages of 8 and 18, who saw every episode of Futurama, every episode of Bob's Burgers, because those were on Netflix, and no Simpsons. And now that it's on Disney Plus, we find parents showing it to their kids again, and so there's a new generation of fans who have 32 years of episodes to catch up on.
Yeah, that's a lot. Well, going from that, let's talk about, we're going to get into Steamed Hams Society, but something else that you have in your repertoire is you are a food critic, celebrity, a food influencer, and I really want to know just how that all started. How did that transition happen?
I've been like this all my life. I just didn't tell people about it because there was no internet on which to do that. Like I had my parents driving me 60 miles to go to McDonald's for my 8th birthday, things like that. And I always wanted to try the new thing that came out, whether it be a new flavor of Pop-Tarts or the new sauce for the Chicken McNuggets or things like that. And I didn't really, I would talk to people about it, or I would put it on Twitter. And then it really started on Instagram about 6 years ago when McDonald's launched their not frozen, but fresh quarter pounder. And I thought maybe I'll just make a video about this instead of typing my opinions on Twitter. And video became very popular. And so I just kept doing it. And it's basically every week since then, approximately every week, I've put on a video on Instagram or on my Instagram story. There's new food news every day of one type or another. Also, I've become somewhat of a food influencer, celebrity, pundit. And I appear on the History Channel, The Food That Built America, regularly talking about the history of whatever, for anything from bourbon to peanut butter to Pop-Tarts. And so I do that. And then I also get asked to opine on things or write articles for things when fast food is in the news. So, my goal is to eventually become the next Guy Fieri. So if anyone watching this has the ability to make that happen, just give me a call, please.
I feel like you might have the connections to make that happen. I feel like there's that somewhere.
Thank you. Well, they're large shoes to fill, but I'm going to get there.
Yeah, but you do though. And that's one of the things. I mean, your videos are so nuanced and you seem to know exactly what it is that you're looking for. And I guess that's kind of my question here is, when you go out, let's say it's a burger. When you go out to get a burger, are there specific things that you are looking for when you go to eat that burger that need to hit certain marks in order to get a good review?
Yes. I should also say one thing about my videos that makes them stand out from the crowd. There must be hundreds of people doing this on YouTube. My videos are nice and short.
Mm-hmm.
People doing this on YouTube, their videos are always at least 10 minutes long because I think that's how long they have to be to get monetized. My videos are almost always 1 minute or less because I don't feel the need to waste any time.
Yeah, that's why you get right to it though. Like you have your opinions on all of these. And
so it's not just for fast food, it's for other, it's for all, as for frozen food, snack food, and what we call everyday food or the popular food of America. But I do find that there's so much, part of the reason I started the Stephen Ham Society is that there's so much baloney. There's so much marketing going on. I'm not going to name names on this commercial program, but certain brands are so filled with baloney. I'm using the non-profanity word. They're just constantly launching new things on Instagram or Twitter and getting a lot of hype. And then you find out not only did the thing stink, but it was only available at one location for one day. And it's like, that's stupid. So I like to call out stuff like that. That's how I got this nickname, the Gordon Ramsay of fast food. Even though I'm not a chef, like Chef Ramsay, I am Simon Cowell-like in the fact that I don't put up with their which is why they don't send me as much as the stuff as they used to. I used to get a lot of stuff from fast food brands, and they gradually stopped sending me stuff one by one once the negative reviews started to show up. But anyway, so what do I look for? Every type of item has a different thing. In a burger, I prefer a burger. I know this is not the way everybody likes their burger, but I prefer it with lettuce, tomato, onions, pickles, with the works generally. And I have tried to grade those types of burgers higher. Same chicken sandwiches are a slightly different thing. I don't like them to be too dry, which is a chronic problem with chicken sandwiches. Which I love. Popeyes generally does not have that problem because the chicken is juicy. A commercial for Popeyes. So anyway, I have different criteria for everything. And those come out if you watch my videos regularly, you see what types of things I tend to go for. But in general, I'm open to any type of thing that's well cooked, well delivered. And, I take pains to make sure that I'm getting fair samples. I have a couple of each item generally, things like that. I take it fairly seriously.
Well, looking at that, with all these different things that you've tried, what's one of the things that maybe most surprised you or most stood out that you've tried?
Yeah, it was Arby's fish sandwich.
Not what I expected.
Won the fast food item of the year last year or the year before last because it was shockingly good. And it was not what I expected. Arby's obviously not specializes in fish. Arby's takes a lot of guff because of its funny sounding name. And generally the fish sandwich was shockingly good. It was the best fast food sandwich I'd ever had, fast food fish sandwich I'd ever had until I tried Culver's, which is a whole different category of itself that we unfortunately don't have here.
Well, you mentioned, people shipping food to you and getting these things from all over the place. What's maybe one of the oddest things that you ever had shipped to you to try?
Well, I guess it was odd. The best thing I've ever had sent to me was 9 dozen oysters sent to me from an oyster farm in Alaska. They were sent on ice, and I had to go to the air cargo thing at PDX to pick them up. And those had just come out of the ocean, and they were amazing. And that was certainly a very generous thing of them to send on an airplane for me. But I think that probably takes the cake. I mean, I've gotten apparel from both Wendy's and Arby's. I've gotten a jar of pickles from McDonald's, and I've gotten a lot of great local stuff too. I mean, a lot of times I've gotten people bringing me like their charcuterie platter or things from local places that I have really enjoyed, or their breakfast items. So yeah, no, I do get the strangest thing was, I would say, the oysters probably by far.
That's amazing. I mean, fresh oysters from Alaska. Like, come on. That's awesome. Well, for you, what is it about Portland that makes it such a great place for food in general?
I mean, well, honestly, you can have the best meal of your life 3 times a day in Portland, and I'm not exaggerating. The quality of the food here, and I'm recapping stuff that other smarter people have said in the past, but I think it's in general, it's easier for a chef, say from Seattle or San Francisco, to come here and start a food truck or a restaurant than it is in those two cities, which are far more expensive. And so thus we get a lot of people who are talented, whether either having worked in famous kitchens for other chefs, or just have some sort of great idea where the starting up cost is not as high as it would be elsewhere. So we have an immensely wide selection of food trucks, for one, which other places don't have. We have food carts here. Other places have food trucks that drive around, but we have carts and cart pods, which I think are amazing. And that's my favorite place to eat. I have dozens of favorites. And as well as restaurants. So really, like, if you know where to go, you can honestly have a breakfast that'll blow your mind, and a lunch and a dinner and a late night snack or cocktail every single day. I mean, and I can have one, maybe every 2 per week of that type of thing. But I just came back from lunch at Eam, which everybody has been talking up, and I've been late in getting there, but it did indeed blow my mind.
Well, with so many different food carts and different pods here in Portland, how do you find out which ones to go to? Are you constantly looking for them yourself? Are they sending you a message? Are people recommending it to you, seeing it online? Like, how do you find these different places that you go to?
All of those things. I get contacted by places periodically. I go to the pods that I like. I mean, there's certain pods around here that are top notch. And I go and check out whether there's a new place or whatnot. I see recommendations from other people. I mean, there's a pretty small community of people who do this as a hobby on Instagram, and Eater PDX also covers things like this. So I try to keep abreast of that stuff and read it every day. And then, I know. And then there's places that I like, I keep going back to, and that's part of the job.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to do it.
Yeah, I mean, well, you're putting in the work. That's the important part of that. Well, let's go from there. Let's talk about the Steamed Hams Society and what that is. And I guess to start off, there's the poster right there behind you. Can you tell us what that is? How that got going?
The poster that you see there is actually for Steamed Hams Lager Beer, which is another story of its own, but it uses the logo from the Steamed Ham Society. The Steamed Ham Society, again, Steamed Hams is a funny segment from The Simpsons that I wrote. In it, steamed hams is a euphemism for hamburgers. And a lot of people who are Simpsons fans have started using that over the years seriously as their euphemism for hamburgers. So it's a society for people who like to talk about food and learn about food. And it's a club. It's not just in Portland, although we have a lot of members in Portland. It's a worldwide club. We have a very active Discord where all the latest food news from all over the place is discussed and parsed, and people share recipes, and they share things that they found and snacks that they found and things, their grandmother's recipes, and how they barbecued, how they reverse seared their steak, etc. It's a food heaven. Then we also have merchandise. We have live streams every month, usually with some people, famous people involved in the food world or food critics. We also have a Simpsons thing for Simpsons fans where we have people involved with the Simpsons come on and talk about that. And then we have merchandise. And then for people with a lot of spare money, we also have a level that's kind of like a fancy concierge level where I send you a curated box of my favorite snacks every quarter as well. And we have private Zooms and talk about them. So it's just, join it. Go to steamedhamssociety.com should you want to join.
That's
now.
Oh, go ahead. I want to
that.
talk about the curated box here in a second, but yes.
Okay. Unrelated to that, I worked with Portland's Level Beer to produce the ideal beer to go with a hamburger. And it's called Steamed Hams Lager because, as I said, Steamed Hams euphemism for hamburgers. So we taste tested this beer over a period of months with different hamburgers to find the beer that absolutely went the best. And this beer does, man. It is so good. It enhances both the taste of your hamburger, and the hamburger enhances the taste of your beer. They were together, and they re-released it. They just re-released it, and if you find it, snap it up because it tends to go quick and it's a kind of a limited quantity. So that's but that's yes, that's my beer, and that is the poster for Steamed Hams Lager from Level Beer in Portland.
Is it a particular kind of beer, or is it just this perfectly?
It's a lager. It's actually the combination of, like, I believe, like a Mexican lager, a German Pilsner, and an American Pilsner, I think, but it's beyond my understanding, the chemistry of it.
But it is the perfect hamburger beer combo.
Yes, and it goes great. But you have to have a hamburger to love it. You will love it no matter what. But when you have a hamburger, you'll see what I'm talking about.
And I would be remiss not to mention as well that you do have some awards that go along with this too, the Steamy Awards, which are highly anticipated every year.
Okay, that's my end of the year award for the best foods I have had all year. That's on my Instagram. It's become a thing now. This year's going to be our 6th annual Steamy Awards. It's basically like a parody of an awards show. There's usually 10 or 12 awards, each 1 minute long or less, for best snack food I had, best imported snack food, best new fast food item, biggest disappointment of the year. And generally I either get I get celebrities to do them sometimes. Sometimes I get people in exotic locations to do them, like Niagara Falls or whatnot. And we always try to make them kind of funny and short. And it's a good clearinghouse for all my food opinions to be rounded up at the end of the year, and for everybody to see.
Well, speaking really quickly here about the snack side of things, you mentioned this curated box, and I'm curious for Bill Oakley, is there a particular genre of snacks that you're really into that you find yourself favoring?
It's all over the board. I mean, I try things all over the board because I'm very curious about new things or things I haven't tried from overseas and so forth. Mm-hmm. My favorite genre of snack is actually the coated peanut. And I've discovered this after years of trying, is sometimes you'll see, they're not very popular in America, but you see them, they're crunchy nuts basically, right? And I've seen a brand, Takis has a brand of them now, and there's a couple other ones. There's a brand with tahine on it. Basically, they're nuts that are coated in a little crunchy shell. They're also known as Japanese peanuts in some places as well. And there are so many different ones with different flavors on them. They're hard to find in general, but that's my favorite snack. And those are sometimes included in things I mail people in the Steamed Ham Society.
So for you, being so involved in the world of snacks, do you see any kind of a snack trend that you think could be taking over, say, in the next year or so?
It's such a fragmented thing. It's hard to say for sure. I know that there's been a couple of, as far as big name things, Doritos has had a couple of shockingly good new Doritos. Most notably the hot mustard Doritos, which most people didn't see, but they were out this summer for several weeks, and they tasted like, Chinese hot mustard, and they were amazing. Every single person who tried them, who I spoke to, said they were fantastic. And so that's like a thing I think we're going to see different flavors of common things happen. I mean, and they might just be hard to find, limited editions and things like that. I also think, to state the obvious, we're going to see spicier things with more international flavors, and things in that genre. But I can't really predict any specific. If I could predict specific things, I'd get some marketing company to pay me a lot of money rather than just saying it for free on the air.
Fair enough. Food prognosticator. That could be the next thing.
Yes. Well, maybe I can get into that too. When the Guy Fieri thing blossoms, I can branch into that too.
Well, Bill, thank you very much, for joining the show here today, but also just for everything that you do, and congratulations on all the success in this and creating a society where, people can interact, people can join in and be a part of it with you. You're always so gracious with your time in sharing that.
It's a good bunch, and people, especially for a place online, it has attracted mainly just goodwill, and there aren't any jerks, and we don't have to kick people off, and people tend to love debating their opinions of what the best spicy chicken sandwich is, or whatever the best new microbrew that tastes like, orange popsicles is.
Yeah. Well, any final thing that you want to let people know about here before we close out?
No. If you're interested, definitely follow my Instagram, that Bill Oakley. That's where all this stuff that Greg's talking about is. I do videos every so often. I have stuff on my story every single day. That's also where there's a lot of local stuff for Portland. And I also announce other things, like, for instance, these Simpsons events or my event in Austin and things of that nature.
Fantastic. Bill, thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been a blast.
All right, there we go. Bill Oakley, right here on Fox 12 Now. Really appreciate Bill's time in joining us for that conversation. Could probably talk to him for hours about any one of the many, many different things that he does, but 20 minutes, that was pretty good too. So thanks for being there. If you want to share this, of course, wherever you're watching right now, you can probably hit that share button. Let other people know about it. We are live here from the Fox 12 Oregon newsroom. That's where Fox 12 Now films. So this is the digital setup right here. And we cover a lot of topics. And one thing I've been emphasizing is that if you have a topic or a discussion or maybe one of the news stories that we covered, you want to do a deeper dive, you want to hear from the reporter, if you want more information, those are all opportunities that we can have right here at this desk. So you can email me, fox12now@kptv.com. That's fox12now, fox12now@kptv.com. And we can see what we can do. Can't guarantee everything's going to be covered, but absolutely send that in, and maybe I can forward it on to an investigative team, maybe another reporter, or maybe we do something here with Fox 12 Now. Something else, though, since we are live right now, if you're watching the live version, I want to remind you something that's coming up here on Monday.
The NBA preseason wraps up for the Blazers as they head to Phoenix for a rematch against the Suns. Watch this Monday night beginning at 6:30. Tip-off at 7, only on Fox 12 Plus.
That's right. The Blazers going to be on Fox 12 Plus on Monday for that final preseason game against the Phoenix Suns. You will definitely want to be watching that. Great opportunity to check out the Blazers. And again, appreciate everybody joining here. If there is breaking news that happens here in the next couple of hours, we will absolutely be on. This is the place to go to every weekday between 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. outside of our other newscasts. If there's breaking news, right where you're at right now, this is where to come to, and we will get you all the information as quick as we get it and bring you live to the scene if that's something that we can do, whatever it may be. So always remember that. All right, well, thanks for tuning in. We're going to log off right now. I'm Greg Nibbler. This is Fox 12 Now.